Lymphatic system. We'll get into some content here, and I'm going to try and keep this very, very short. I always say that, and then I run a little bit long. I've adjusted angles and lighting and things like that, so I may wander off the screen a few times. For that, I apologize. What I want to do is a quick review, a very quick review, where we were before spring break hit, and then before the whole Corona kerfuffle showed up, just to kind of get you back into the routine. Then I want to talk about how I'm going to be posting the content videos online, where to go on YouTube to look for them, kind of my code for how I'm going to put these online. Also, I want to just I want to just say, hey, thank you for all of those of you who knew, hey, I need to check my email. I'm glad to be getting the emails from you about everything from grades to schedules, considering I've made a mistake with the lymphatic and I called it the endocrine, I believe. So I'm glad that we're actually able to be working on this with you at a distance and nobody here, and hopefully more people will follow in with everybody else. Where we're going, we're getting into, and hopefully by Thursday morning, I can have some urinary information put up so we can start dealing with some unknown content. That's kind of part of my goal. Tonight, I just want to do, this video, I want to do a quick refresher of where we were and kind of give you, let me go back all the way through this, and give you an idea, okay, an exam coming down the pike next Monday. Here I'm doing time things again. The following Monday, check your schedule. What am I looking for? So lymphatic. The first thing that we really did in lymphatic, if you remember, if you go all the way back, we had just come out of circulatory system, and we were trying to take a look at this circulatory system is closed, and it drains liquid and nutrients and whatnot out through the capillary beds, and then it's pulled back up, and then off it goes back to the heart through the venous system. Lymphatic system picks up the drainage that wasn't pulled back into the circulatory system. That's one of the big goals. So we had this, and I was showing you everything from intestinal lymph nodes to axillaries to the thymus, some of the organs, but this is what it really came down to. And this is kind of a redo. Here's capillary bed. Excess fluid and materials pulled in. We end up going through the collecting vessels. We got valves. We talked about varicose veins. We go through some lymph nodes with that reticular tissue. We filter things out. We dump back into the heart. So we talked about all of those ducts and trunks and collecting vessels, and these are the things that we're going to be probably having a component on the exam. If I give you, hey, so you have fluid that drains out around the spleen, it's not pulled back into the cardiovascular system, how does it get back? How does the fluid leave the body and end up back in this closed circulatory system? Here it is. We looked at this, that when we looked at the circulatory system, we had these capillary beds. Now we put these little lymphatic capillaries in there, and those are the one-way, they're not circulatory, they've got an end, and then we looked at them in cross-section like this. We said these endothelial cells have flaps, and when the pressure gets high, you can have the fluid drain to the inside like you see on the red arrow. We talked about right lymphatic duct, the thoracic duct. Know what parts of the body drain into each of those. They're essentially the only two ways back to the circulatory system. We talked about the ever important little lymph nodes and what goes on in there as far as T cells and B cells and veins, and the afferents coming in or incoming on this, efferent leaving or the outgoing on this image. Then we talked about tonsils. This is when we got into the world of individual organs. Tonsils are unique. They surround those openings into the body, and they have the crypts where infectious things go to die. Then we looked at, what else did we have as I run through this? We had the spleen, and what goes on there? The spleen has a couple of major functions. I think you already know what they are. Thymus. This is when we started to get a little bit chemistry based. The thymus, it shrinks as you age, as your immunity tends to build. We don't need as much of this. We don't need as many T cells because we've regulated that with thymosin and thymopoietin. So that should be in your notes, hopefully, as well. Then we went a little bit further and started to get really out there. We started talking about T cells and B cells. In the circulatory system, we talked about the origin of all of these different cells and cell types. And what we're doing now is just focusing on a couple of those. Then the ever important immunoglobulin, the antibody. This was a very ugly rendition, and we try and simplify it to this. A couple of different protein or polypeptide chains, and we have them that come in a bunch of different variations. Some are pentamers, some are dimers. And when we look at M's and G's and A's, they all have different jobs and different functions. And I really tried to focus on that when we dealt with primary and secondary immune response. That our primary takes a long time, and we just get a little tiny titer here. When our secondary, something comes back around, we just blow right up. And we're orders of magnitude above what we were before, and we did it very, very quickly. This is what we don't know when it comes to COVID-19 or the virus that causes COVID-19. Are we going to develop an immune response? Stay tuned, we don't know. Then we got into some of these other things. For example, the complement pathway. I put this up there. I said, don't worry about this. This is very confusing, and if we try and whittle it down, complement with all of this chemistry and all of these pathways is going to fire up inflammation, heat, bring in blood, area reddens, cytolysis, so the cells getting blown apart by different pathways, and then marking cells for phagocytosis, which literally translates to eating the cell. So, like I said, I'm kind of going quickly because we've already had this. There's your heat, pain, redness, and swelling as we see the increase of cells and blood flow to the area. Here's some of the chemicals. I think you can get those down pretty quickly and easily. Oh, and interferons. Here's another one of these ugly things that before spring break I put up and said, yeah, a lot of work going on here. This is what it's really like. I tried to keep the world of interferons pretty simple. Then we got to immunity, and this is the real heavy-duty biochem component of the lymphatic system. Passive, we looked at natural and artificial, same thing with active. And where we really got busy with this is all of a sudden we came down to humoral mediated and cell mediated. I can't remember whether I got a slide for each of those. No, I don't. So I'm not going to go through those again, but it all comes from the fact that are you being initiated? Is the immune response initiated from outside, or is it due to the fact that a cell has been attacked by something like COVID-19 or the virus that causes it? Definitely for the exam that's coming up in a few classes. This is kind of weird not being able to say the following Monday because I don't know when that's going to be based on when you actually saw this. This is one of the things that you should expect. I would pretty much guarantee I will give you the choice. Explain humoral mediated or cell mediated. Pick one. Be sure you can get down the T cells, the different types of T cells, B cells if they're needed. Explain how it starts, the cascade, essentially is basically as we did it. You can get to the point of grad school complexity and keep it simple but not super simple. So I'm going to want to know helper T cells, oh, your major histocompatibility complex proteins up here, class 1 versus class 2. A little bit of work on that. I think you're going to be able to spout that back to me very quickly, and that's a really important thing as we deal with the pandemic in 2020. So from here, I want to address the urinary system. I'm not going to do it in this video. Hopefully later on today, I'm going to be able to start doing urinary system videos and get those to you. This then brings me to, I think, the final thing before I run out of time. How am I going to put these on YouTube? A number of you have already looked at the intro videos that I put on YouTube, but considering we're going to go through a whole bunch of systems, lymphatic, urinary, respiratory, reproductive, how am I going to keep those in order? That's a good question. And here's what I want to do. This video will go into YouTube in just a small amount of time as this. 272. I want to make sure I don't run out of board. I'll call it Unit 1. That's to try and keep things kind of chronological as I upload. Lymphatic. So this is exactly what you'll type into that search bar at youtube.com. 1 of 1. This is the only lymphatic one that I'm going to put up there. There will be more review as we go through urinary to prep for the exam. But as I get into urinary is not going to be 1. We're not going to do that in 15 minutes. So I'm going to put 1 of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4, 4 of 4. Excuse me. So as you pull these up, they are going to show up hopefully in order. The reason I'm doing unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is lymphatic and respiratory and reproductive won't go in order. So I'm hoping to make that easy as far as accessibility to get a hold of these videos. And as I said before, I'm really happy that a number of you have been watching these and actually been able to communicate with me via email. So with that being said, class begins tomorrow in the morning or early afternoon. If you happen to watch this tonight, I'll be firing off emails to everybody. You can get a hold of me anytime tonight or tomorrow. So hopefully that was quick and I'm getting better at this, and I will fire another one off as well as email soon. I'll see you in urinary.